After the delay that happened at the end of June, Blue Archive was finally released on July 3rd, 2025, and strangely enough, I was looking forward to play this game. What I mean by that is that it's been years since I properly played a gacha game before. The last one, I believe, was Metal Slug Attack, and before that, I was into its predecessor, Metal Slug Defense, and WWE Supercard. Still not big on mobile games. I'm a guy who prefers his video game action to take place on a console or PC, so now I felt that it was a good time to give Blue Archive a chance and see what all the Kani is about. By the way, Kani means crab in Japanese and it doesn't mean anything else. Just to be clear from the get go, those hours that you see on Steam are very deceiving. Eventually, I did give the game a chance on mobile, the way that it was originally made for. And you bet that I played quite a bit in smartphone mode. So, what's this video going to be about? It's simple, really. It's about answering this one question. Can I recommend Blue Archive after 40 plus hours of game time? Let's begin. At the start, you will have to enter the game with whatever account the game requires you to have. In my case, I actually went out of my way to create an account on nexon.com. And after completing a somewhat beefy tutorial, you're given access to the main menu. What? You thought that I was going to do an in-depth analysis of the game's opening? Silly. Okay, let's do some disclaimers here. I will not do a proper review of this game's story mode, and that's because I'm not very deep into it. You could say that I experienced most of the game in skirmish mode than campaign mode. Which is not true because even if you ignore story mode, most of your time will be spent on completing missions and challenges on this game's campaign mode. So, no analysis of this game's plot or lore. Not to say that I won't be speaking about the dialogue that appears here and there. I'm just looking at Blue Archive as more of a gacha slash idle shooter experience than a visual novel experience. I will say though, play the story mode, because if you don't, then you will be locked out of playing missions in the future. And I thought the game was going to do this just once, but no. As far as I'm aware, you don't need an account with a high level if you want to make progress in story mode. And I'm not going to talk about the social aspects of Blue Archive, so no friends, no clubs, no assistants, and no cafe visits. With that out of the way, let's talk about the idle shooter portion of the game, since it requires the most explanation.
What, we some kind of suicide squad?
Blue Archive is a game where you build your squad and then you send them to the battlefield to kill, annihilate, destroy, erase, and exterminate all kinds of soldiers and advanced weaponry like droids, tanks, and the occasional lingering spirit. It's up to you to assemble these kawaii Avengers. Can't believe I actually said that shit. And survive to live another day. There are several game modes to play, but the core gameplay loop remains largely the same across all of them. Each student doesn't just come equipped with their own voice acting and special effects animations, but they also come equipped with their own EX skills. Though with this game having so many characters, you will see some students having very similar EX skills to other students. EX skills are your super attacks, or in some cases, upgraded support skills. Each EX skills has a cost that needs to be paid by this bar that is constantly filling up. Just remember that if your squad is smaller, then that bar will fill up slower. The EX skills are not the only thing that separates one student from another in terms of combat performance. Oh no. Special students act more as support than troopers, really only used for attacks that deal a lot of damage or big time healing. There are different types of in the heat formations where some students may stay in the front lines, others stay in the back, and others even stay in the middle. There are different types of attacks and armor, and these have their own in-game chart that explain how they interact with each other. It's not very complicated. You can see that in terms of which attack is the most effective against a particular type of armor, it's a straight line. So it's just a matter of matching the attack colors with the appropriate armor color. kinda reminds me of Pokemon types. The game even tells you what kind of fighter your student is: a tank, a dealer, support, healer, and tactical support. On top of that, students rock their own weapons, they have additional skills that aids them in battle, and some students may take cover mid-battle. So yeah, there's a lot to observe here. But you mainly have to keep these 3 things in mind if you want to succeed at the core gameplay of Blue Archive. Build a formation with good EX skills, match the appropriate armor of the enemies with the correct attack type, and keep leveling up your students to turn them into death machines. Oh yeah, let's talk about the
Stop it! You two, you're ruining my fucking yoga!
Somebody say yoga?
Your students don't gain experience by themselves after defeating enemies. Instead, it's up to you to micromanage every student's leveling up journey. First of all, you gain experience points from completing missions in the campaign. And that leveling up is the most important because your student's max level is capped by your own account level. After that, you then spend credits and these activity reports to properly level up your students. But wait, there's more. You can also spend credits and other kinds of materials to upgrade a student's EX, basic, enhanced, and soft skill. But wait, there's more. You can also outfit your students with gear that gives subtle stat boost, and later on you can upgrade the tier of these pieces of gear in order to upgrade the stat boost. But wait, there's more. You probably noticed that your student has their own weapon locked up? Well, the thing is, you can also upgrade your weapon stat with credits and their own materials, but in order to even do that, you need to have that student star rating maxed out, or how the game puts it, unlock their mystic. As far as I'm aware, the students you recruit start at either 1 star, 2 star, or a 3 star rank if the gacha gods decide that now is the time to throw this poor soul a bone. Then you grind enough elefs of a particular student and then you level them up with set elefs until they reach a 5 star rank. Then you can level up that student's weapon. But wait! You also can improve your students' stats by improving their relationship level. You can do it by holding classes at places they currently are in the lessons map, or you can try the faster method of spoiling them with a shit ton of gifts and invites to the cafe. You greedy whore. Anti-bourgeoisie my ass. But wait! There's also students who are treated as entirely different characters depending on their outfit. For example, Default Serika is an explosive dealer who attacks from the middle. Swimsuit Serika is a special student who has a circular area EX skill as opposed to performing a blue Kaioken. And New Year Serika deals piercing damage and her EX skill's area of attack is fan-shaped instead of circular. So yeah, this game is pretty grindy, very grindy. If you come here with the mentality of, oh, I'm gonna max out everything, then you, sir, are indeed very silly. But it's not as bad as you may think thanks to the sweep mechanic. Think of this as the combat deployment mechanic of MGS5 The Phantom Pain, but it grants experience and it's done in an instant, allowing you to farm very quickly. Now let's talk about each game mode individually. Mission mode splices various skirmishes in between this navigation board, where you move your squad and later on your squads into enemy lines to kill the boss of that mission. In this hexagonal hell, you'll find items that buff or heal any of your squad that grabs them, and there are these marked tiles that can cause a squad to move from one place to another, or they can make other tiles appear or disappear, causing an elimination of an enemy squad. Or in the case of very inexperienced players, it can cause them to trap one of their squads. Eliminating the boss is how you beat the missions, but you can also fulfill these extra objectives to win additional rewards. Most importantly, this game's premium currency, Pyrozenium, let's just call them the gems. Sweep and hard missions also grants ELEVs of certain students, so keep that in mind. Talking briefly about other gameplay modes, Bounty requires you to hunt down these Power Ranger Fox in order to obtain important items for skill growth, like Blu-rays, tech notes, and artifacts. Commissions come in two different flavors: base defense to acquire activity reports, or killing as many of these jack-in-the-box blokes to farm credits. Scrimmages consist in taking out a small group of very powerful students to obtain materials for weapon growth. And then there are these more special modes, like Total Assault. You fight a boss battle, like a fucking mecha type of boss. Joint Firing Drill is similar to the base defense commission, but you can also strike the same stage with different formations in order to increase your top score and then sweep greater rewards. Grand Assault. It's basically a combination of Total Assault and Firing Drill. Tactical Challenge, where you build a formation and you send it to fight automatic battles against other players' formations, though you'll mostly lose. There's Final Restriction Release. What a clunky ass name. It's the same as Total Assault, but bigger. There's a tougher boss, and you can fight it with a larger formation of students. And then there are the events, which behave like the main story, but special events grant their own currency, which you will spend to obtain special rewards. In my case, it's a great way to grind gifts. And I believe that's it for the gameplay. Now let's see what other things you can find on the game. Like I said before, you can hold lessons if you want to improve your relationship status with students that you've already recruited, though the game really likes to throw all of these other students that you don't have, so what a tease. The game has a crafting section where you can synthesize materials or combine materials together to create a lot of things. I mostly use this for gifts or cafe furniture. And this is where we move into the cafe. You can invite students here to give them presents, and you can decorate your cafe with furniture, raising the comfort level of your cafe. Eventually you will upgrade your first cafe so that you can obtain a second cafe, meaning more random students that will visit your cafe, doubling your invites counter, and more credits and AP that you can farm. Oh yeah, did I mention that this game has an AP mechanic? It's neat, isn't it? To encourage players to spend more money into the game, there's a limit to which you can complete most stages and perform sweeps. And no, it's not just the tickets required to start scrimmages and the like. You also need a certain amount of AP, which leads us nicely into the gacha elements of Blue Archive. Let's talk about the currencies of this game, and there's a lot of them. And that's because credits are not used to pull anything. In fact, they're used more to level up your students. Instead, you're more likely to use stuff like these special coins you obtain from other parts of the campaign, and these expert permits tickets you obtain from completing daily and weekly tasks. And finally, the final bosses of currencies in this game. The gems and the purple crystals. It's so sad I don't have enough Eligmas to purchase more Haruka ELEVs. Who the hell is Haruka? Even though you don't use the gems to purchase materials or activity reports, you can use them to purchase AP, recharge sweeps and tickets, and most importantly, pull for new students. You have a couple of options with some variability when it comes to the process of obtaining new students. Hell, the game even gives you some for free on event recaps. But the most common way to play gacha here is to spend 1200 gems for 10 pulls. It does give better odds than to simply spend 120 for each individual pull. Apart from recruiting new students for your roster, the second most important part of the gacha is any students you've already recruited gives you their ELEVs, as well as a large number of the purple crystals, which you can use to purchase even more ELEVs. Obviously, I'm assuming that you're doing the less cringe thing of using 1200 gems in order to pull 10 times, because if you're just using 120 gems at a time, it feels like you're just wasting your premium currency. And it is important that you obtain as many purple crystals, because if you don't, then you'll most likely never reach the 5-star ranks for each of your preferred students, locking you out of weapon growth and the ability to improve your students' relationship level to something beyond 20. And now that I've mentioned it, let's talk about Momotalk.
今年もいい一年でありますように。明けましておめでとう、先生。
Momotalk is where you can learn more about the students and engage in some relationship building with them, at least in visual novel mode. I'm not gonna beat around the bush here. I don't like Momotalk. In fact, it's my biggest negative about Blue Archive. To deliver a more comprehensive point from my end, let's talk about another video game franchise altogether, The Legend of Zelda. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but most, if not all, Zelda games released before 2017 treated the boy canonically known as Link as an avatar for the player, meaning that you can name him whatever you want and he didn't really speak. He would emote and react to things in most games, but he really wasn't a storyline character in the traditional sense. This changed with Breath of the Wild, curiously the only Zelda game I've ever beaten, and it's a great fucking game. But one thing that's different about this incarnation of Link compared to previous ones is that he's actually referred to as, well, Link.
Save yourself. Go. I'll be fine. Don't worry about me. Run!
This means that he is treated like the other characters on the story, and he's not an avatar for the player. When it comes to Blue Archive, I would feel better about Momotalk if the sensei that we were playing as was exactly like the sensei that appears on the Blue Archive anime. But nope, the game even gives you the option to give a prompt that allows the cute little Aurora AI character to pronounce something, allowing her to call you by a more personal name.
遠い先生。
And you know what? I am fine with that bit, but Momotalk goes into a direction that encourages the player to grow more parasocial towards the game's characters, and I think that's kinda scummy. Before I continue, I wanna leave some counter arguments to some of the opinions that you guys may leave in response to my opinions of Momotalk. Number 1, aren't you a VTuber fan? Don't you think it's hypocritical to stand against Momotalk when you also support VTubers monetarily as well? Oh yeah, so before I respond to this question, I gotta make this clear. I've spent like $2 to $3 of real life money into the game, paying only for beginner sensei deals. Now, one thing that needs to be completely clear about comparing Blue Archive to VTubers is that VTubers are content creators. They are people. Meanwhile, Blue Archive is a product. It's manufactured. It's a work of fiction. So for there to be an avenue where the game wants to make the player feel like they're interacting with real people is not healthy. For VTubers, we accept some level of parasocialness because we know from the get-go that we are interacting with someone who's just a virtual avatar instead of the real face. Don't get me wrong, there are certain VTubers and just content creators in general who engage with viewers in ways that encourage unhealthy behaviors. In my case, I don't like it when VTubers do positive, encouraging vibes types of ASMR. ASMR is already a very intimate form of content creation, so to suddenly have a voice that you feel much harder than a standard recording/stream saying motivational things, ironically, rubs me the wrong way. In my case, I didn't even know that Momotalk was going to be a small part of the Blue Archive experience. But even if I knew, stuff like the voice lines that you get from improving your students' relationship status do not affect me like how Momotalk affects me because I don't speak Japanese or Korean, this game's dub options. Momotalk takes it a step further by being framed like it's a standard visual novel experience, but the dialogue is framed like the characters are talking to you. Number 2, Momotalk is an optional portion of the game. You don't need to interact with it to level up your students, and it's not required to unlock new missions, modes, events, characters, etc. So why even be upset by it? First, just because you can ignore a problem, it doesn't mean the problem goes away. Secondly, the game rewards you with premium currency if you go out of your way to interact with the students via Momotalk. Funnily enough, the game has side stories that reward you with gems if you read them, or skip them. Do that for a bunch of free gems. But going back to the topic, can we really say that in a gacha game, something like a task, a story event, whatever, is optional if the reward for completing it is a certain amount of the game's premium currency? You're gonna tell me that the daily tasks that the game gives you are truly optional because you can simply ignore them? Number 3. Momotalk is important for character development as you will understand each student's quirks better if you continue to use Momotalk. Honestly, I disagree with this. Blue Archive is a game with a lot of voice acting, animation and artwork that helps to sell the colorful war crimes that you'll be committing in-game, and it also works to sell the cozy vibe of other activities. Not to spoil the story too much, but I got a better appreciation of various students as characters by playing the story mode, not when engaging with them in Momotalk. Shiroko, Serika, Hoshino, Ayane, Nonomi, Aru, Kayoko, Haruka, and Mutsuki are characters that I appreciate more thanks to the story mode, and my appreciation of their personalities and traits have very little to do with Momotalk, with the only exception in that group being Haruka. As you progress with the story mode, you will only see more and more students being developed character-wise. I think I made my point here. I genuinely believe that the game would be better without Momotalk. Plus, the notifications telling me how many Momotalks I have not attended is kind of an eyesore on the main menu.
And everyone quit calling!
To act a little bit more charitable towards Momotalk, the new interactive backgrounds that you unlock are a great cosmetic reward, so it at least has that going for it. Okay, time to get really subjective. I really enjoyed my time with Blue Archive. It's not perfect. Momotalk and the AP mechanics are my low point. But outside of that, it felt great experiencing what this game has to offer. Part of why Blue Archive connected with me is the fact that the game undeniably has a huge amount of charm, combined with some pretty good graphics that combine an appealing art direction with a cute sense of quirk, and also the music of this game bangs. I'm not the biggest fan of EDM/dubstep, but whoever they hired to produce the music for this game, they completely nailed it when it comes to deliver a soundtrack that's bouncy and energetic, as well as having some more low-key tunes that are nice on the ears. With all that being said, can I recommend Blue Archive as a game? I mean, you're not harming yourself by trying it out since it's free, unless you have problems with compulsive spending, in which case you should stay away from this game, but assuming that you don't have that kind of issue. Do you like anime art? Do you like the idea of playing a free-to-play gacha game? Are you willing to look past some of the problematic aspects of Blue Archive like Momotalk? If you say yes to all three, then I absolutely recommend Blue Archive. If you say no to all three, then it's more of a cautious recommendation. I like to give scores to everything I review, music, games, movies, but in this case I'm gonna hold that thought for later, because I have not played this game for long enough in order to make that call. And technically I have not experienced everything this game has to offer. So who knows, maybe in the future I will do a 100 or hell, even a 1000 hour review of this game. Only time will tell. That's it for today. Thank you all for watching this until the end. Bye bye, and take care. Actually, I lied. There's a fourth question that is very important when it comes to recommending Blue Archive. And that question is: does the game look good on a 4K Ultra HD television? And the answer? Well, Yeah, it looks good.
Do you like the new mask?
There are clearly some assets that were not meant to be viewed with this high of a resolution, but the game itself does look pretty well upscale for 4K resolutions. Just remember that if you are going to be playing on a 4K monitor, then it does require more horsepower if you want to play Blue Archive at that resolution. Okay, bye. Teehee!